In the vast darkness of space, the silence was always deafening. For centuries, the alien empire had reigned supreme, crushing anyone who dared to challenge their dominance. Earth, a small blue planet in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, was considered insignificant by the powerful alien overlords. The humans had never been a threat until now. The Hopebringer, humanity's last remaining warship, sailed silently through the cold expanse of space. Its engines hummed with quiet power, yet the tension on board was palpable. The crew, composed of battle-hardened soldiers, scientists, and engineers, knew this mission could be their last. They had no choice but to venture into the heart of the alien empire, an empire that had destroyed their home colonies and pushed them to the brink of extinction. Captain Elijah Trent stood at the helm, staring out at the view. Her fingers hovered over the control panel, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. This mission was not just about survival, it was about hope. The message they carried was their only chance to stop the impending disaster that threatened both humanity and the alien empire. But could they deliver it before it was too late? "We're approaching the coordinates," Captain Lieutenant Jared Klein called out from his station. His voice was steady, but Eliza could sense the fear beneath it. They were entering enemy territory now. One wrong move, one mistake, and it would be over. Eliza took a deep breath and turned to face the crew. "Remember, our mission is clear. We're here to deliver a message. If they think we're a threat, we won't survive. Keep your cool and don't give them any reason to attack." "Understood?" The crew nodded, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. There was no room for error. The alien fleet, vast and ruthless, was already on high alert. They knew a human ship had entered their space, and the moment they detected the Hopebringer, they would be prepared to engage. It was only a matter of time before the first shot was fired. ASA, the warship neared the alien capital. The comms officer, Sergeant Mika Ramirez, monitored the signals. "Captain, they're tracking us. Their fleet is moving into position." Eliza's heart skipped a beat. She knew the aliens wouldn't let them get any closer without a fight. "How long until they open fire?" she asked, trying to keep her voice calm. "It's hard to say, Captain. They're still holding back, but they won't wait much longer," Ramirez replied, her eyes fixed on the monitors. Eliza's mind raced. If they attacked first, the message would be lost. If they didn't act fast enough, the alien fleet would destroy them all. There had to be a way to avoid bloodshed. "We need to reach their central command," Eliza said, her voice firm. "Prepare the encryption codes. We need to send the message directly to their leader." A hush fell over the crew as they moved into position. The tension was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity. The alien fleet was closing in, and Eliza could see their warships on the scanners, massive, intimidating vessels with advanced weaponry that made the Hopebringer look like a speck of dust in comparison. The humans were outmatched in every way. "Captain, they've locked onto our ship," Ramirez reported, her voice tight with worry. "Hold steady," Elijah ordered, gripping the edge of her seat. "Don't fire unless I say so." The Hopebringer sailed closer to the alien command station. The alien ships were now in firing range, their weapons charged and ready. The moment Eliza gave the order, they would unleash a barrage of firepower, obliterating the human ship in seconds. Suddenly, a red light flashed on the control panel. "Captain, they're transmitting something," Ramirez called out. Eliza's heart raced. Could it be a warning? A challenge? Or a message? "Open the channel," she ordered. The screen flickered to life, revealing the image of an alien warlord, a towering figure with cold, calculating eyes. His voice echoed through the comms, icy and threatening. "You are trespassing in our domain, human. You have one chance to explain your presence. Fail, and we will destroy you." Eliza's grip tightened on the console. She had expected this. The aliens were ruthless, but they were also intelligent. They wouldn't destroy them immediately without understanding the situation. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We come in peace," Elijah said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "We have a message that can save both our people. A force greater than any of us is coming. If we don't unite, we'll all be destroyed." The alien warlord narrowed his eyes. You expect us to believe this? After everything your people have done? I know what you think of us, Elijah replied, her voice hardening. But this isn't about our past. It's about our future. We have information that could help us defeat this new enemy. But we need your help. We can't do it alone. There was a long pause. The alien warlord seemed to weigh her words, his face unreadable. Elijah's stomach churned as she waited for his response. She knew they were running out of time. The alien fleet was preparing for a strike, and any delay could mean disaster. Finally, the warlord spoke, his voice low and menacing. You are making a dangerous gamble, human. We do not trust you. Elijah's heart sank. She had expected resistance, but this felt different. The warlord wasn't just trying to intimidate them. He was genuinely considering her words. You have no choice, Elijah said, her voice trembling with urgency. If we don't work together, both our species will fall to this new threat. I'm not asking for trust. I'm asking for a chance. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, to Elijah's surprise, the warlord spoke again, his voice colder than before. Very well. We will listen. But know this, if you are lying, if you have come here to trick us, we will destroy you. The screen went black, and the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. The message had been delivered, but the real battle was just beginning. Would the alien empire believe them in time? Or would they be wiped out before they could stop the oncoming threat? Elijah looked around at her crew. They had done what they could, but now it was in the hands of the aliens. The fate of two species rested on the next few hours. Would it be a message of hope? Or would it be their final, desperate attempt at survival? As the Hopebringer drifted closer to the alien capital, Elijah knew one thing for sure: the battle for the galaxy had just begun. The vastness of space was a place of silence. Stars twinkled in the distance, while a deep, endless void lay between them. This was a galaxy ruled by the powerful alien empire, an empire that saw humanity as weak and insignificant. For years, humans had been pushed to the brink of extinction, their worlds destroyed, their colonies falling. Yet, there was still hope. Humanity had one weapon left, their warship, the Silent Fury. Captain Adam Carter stood at the bridge of the Silent Fury, his eyes fixed on the star-filled expanse ahead. The warship had been drifting silently through the galaxy for weeks, traveling through alien-controlled space. The mission was simple, but deadly: deliver a message. The problem was, the aliens would not take kindly to human ships entering their territory, especially without warning. The risk was high, but it was their only chance to survive. Captain, we're getting closer to the alien fleet's perimeter, Lieutenant Sarah Lou said, her voice steady but tense. She was the ship's navigator, and her fingers danced over the controls, keeping the ship on course. Adam nodded, his mind racing. Their mission was to approach the heart of the alien empire and send a message that would hopefully save humanity. The humans had no desire for war. They only needed a chance to survive, a chance to stop the greater threat that loomed on the horizon. But how could they convince the aliens? The Silent Fury was no match for the alien fleet, and if the aliens thought the humans were planning an attack, they would destroy them without hesitation. We should be ready for anything, Adam said quietly, his voice calm but carrying the weight of responsibility. Make sure all systems are on standby. We don't know what we're walking into. Understood, Captain, Sarah replied, her fingers tightening on the controls as the ship slowly approached the alien border. The crew moved quickly, preparing for the worst. There was no room for mistakes. They had one shot at this. A single error could mean the end of the human race. The warship cruised silently through the galaxy, its hull nearly invisible against the blackness of space. As they entered the edge of the alien empire's territory, sensors began to detect strange signals. The crew had expected this. The aliens were no fools, they would be watching. Captain, they've detected us, said Ensign Mark Duncan, the ship's communications officer. Their ships are moving into position. They're locking on to us. Adam's heart skipped a beat. He had expected this, but the reality of it still sent a chill down his spine. The aliens would not hesitate to fire on them if they saw the Silent Fury as a threat. But if they showed any signs of aggression, they would lose the only chance they had. We don't want trouble. We're not here to fight, Adam muttered to himself, his hand clenched around the armrest of his chair. But they don't know that. Sir, they're signaling for us to stop, Mark said, his voice calm, but Adam could hear the tension in it. The crew fell silent. The signal from the aliens was clear. They wanted to know why a human ship was here, so close to their territory. The silent fury had no choice but to answer. "Open the channel," Adam commanded, his voice steady. The screen flickered to life, showing the stern face of an alien officer. The alien's voice was cold and threatening, echoing through the ship's speakers. "You have entered our space, human. You will explain your presence. Failure to comply will result in your destruction." Adam's pulse quickened. This was it. If they didn't handle this carefully, the silent fury would be torn apart before they could even speak. But there was no turning back now. They had to make the alien officer understand. "We come in peace," Adam said firmly, though his voice betrayed a hint of the fear he felt. "We have a message. We need your help." The alien's eyes narrowed, his expression unreadable. "Help? From humans?" His voice was filled with disbelief. "Your species is nothing but a nuisance. Why should we help you?" Adam swallowed hard, knowing that his next words could decide the fate of everyone on board. "Because there's something far worse than us coming. A force that will destroy both our species if we don't work together." For a moment, there was silence. The alien officer stared at Adam, and Adam stared back. It felt like time had stopped, the air in the room thick with tension. The alien officer was calculating, deciding if Adam's words were a trick, if this was just another attempt to fool them. Finally, the alien spoke again, his voice low and threatening. "You think we are fools? Your species cannot be trusted. We know of your kind weak, selfish. You are nothing." Adam's heart sank. He knew that the alien empire saw humanity as nothing more than a nuisance, a minor species that could easily be wiped out. But the truth was far different. Humanity was fighting a war on two fronts against the alien empire and against the greater threat that loomed over them all. A force that didn't care about borders or alliances. "We're not asking for trust," Adam said, his voice filled with urgency. "We're asking for a chance to survive. The enemy we face doesn't care about us or you. If we don't unite, we'll both be destroyed." The alien officer's eyes flickered with uncertainty. Adam had hoped for a crack in the alien's resolve, and it seemed like he might have found it. The officer looked at him, his expression softening slightly. "Very well," the officer said, his voice quieter now. "You have one chance. We will listen, but know this. If you lie, if this is some kind of trap, we will destroy you." Adam nodded, relief flooding his chest. He had done it. They had made it through the first hurdle. The officer's face disappeared from the screen, and the comms officer turned to Adam. "Captain, they've agreed to hear us. The message will be transmitted shortly." Adam's mind raced. They had bought themselves time, but time was a luxury they didn't have much of. The alien fleet was still closing in, and they had no idea if the aliens would truly help them, or if this was just a way to lure them into a trap. The silent fury was vulnerable, and every second felt like an eternity. As the message began to send, Adam turned to his crew. "Keep your focus. We don't know what will happen next, but we need to be ready." The silent fury drifted silently through the cold void of space, waiting for the alien response. In that moment, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Would the aliens join them in their fight against the unknown enemy? Or would the silent fury be destroyed, and with it, the last hope of survival? The stars shimmered in the cold, empty void of space as the Starbreaker, a human warship, silently sailed through the galaxy. It had been days since they'd left the safety of their home territories, and now they were deep within alien-controlled space. The mission was simple, yet deadly: deliver a message to the alien empire, one that could change the course of the entire galaxy. But there was something else, something more dangerous than the enemy outside, something inside the Starbreaker. Captain Isabella Moore stood on the bridge, staring out into the void. The Starbreaker had always been her pride, but now something felt wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was an unseen danger lurking within the ship. Her crew had been acting strange, nervous, distracted, and on edge. But that wasn't the worst of it. "Captain." His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed his unease. "We're in the heart of alien space. The fleet is still on our tail." Isabella nodded, her hands gripping the edge of her console. The Starbreaker had to reach the alien capital, deliver the message, and survive the encounter. But as the ship neared the enemy stronghold, her gut twisted with a growing sense of dread. Something wasn't right. She had spent years commanding ships, facing dangers from hostile forces, but this was different. Something was happening on her ship. "We're not alone, are we?" Isabella muttered under her breath. She didn't speak the words aloud, but a dark thought lingered in her mind. Could someone on the ship be working with the enemy? "Could there be a traitor among her crew, Captain?" Alex asked, glancing at her, his expression confused. "Is everything all right?" Isabella quickly masked her thoughts. She couldn't let the crew see her doubt. "We're fine. Just stay focused. Prepare to send the message as soon as we're within range." But despite her words, Isabella's mind kept drifting back to the feeling that something was wrong. As they got closer to the alien stronghold, the ship's security officer, Sergeant Kyle Davidson, made his way to the bridge. He was known for his calm demeanor and sharp instincts, but today he looked unsettled. "Captain," he said, his voice low, "I've noticed something strange. There's a series of malfunctions happening across the ship's systems, communications, life support, even the weapons. It's like someone's tampering with them." Isabella's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean, tampering? Are you saying someone on the ship is interfering with the systems?" Kyle hesitated before answering. "It's possible, Captain. I've reviewed the security footage, but there's no sign of forced entry. It's as if whoever's behind this knows how to bypass our systems without being detected." Isabella's mind raced. Could there be a traitor aboard? Someone who was sabotaging the mission from within? If the aliens knew about this weakness, they could easily destroy them. She couldn't afford to let this continue. They needed to complete their mission, but the sabotage was growing worse. "Can you trace the source of the problem?" Isabella asked, her voice steady despite the rising panic in her chest. "We're trying, but it's like it's coming from within the system itself," Kyle said, his face grim. "We may have a mole, Captain. Someone is working against us." Isabella felt a chill run down her spine. Her mind raced as she tried to think of who it could be. Was it someone close to her? Someone she trusted? Or was it someone she hadn't noticed before? The thought of betrayal within her own crew was more terrifying than any alien threat. She had to act quickly before it was too late. "Seal off the lower decks," Isabella commanded. "I want a full sweep of the ship. No one leaves their posts without clearance." Kyle nodded and immediately left to carry out her orders. Isabella stood at the command center, her eyes scanning the screens, watching as the crew worked tirelessly to identify the source of the sabotage. Time was running out. The alien fleet was closing in, and if the Starbreaker wasn't fully operational, they wouldn't stand a chance. Minutes felt like hours as the tension on the ship grew thicker. The crew worked in silence, but Isabella could see the fear in their eyes. They knew something was wrong too, but no one spoke of it openly. It was as if they were all waiting for the inevitable, waiting for the truth to come out. Suddenly, the ship's comms officer, Ensign Rachel Burns, called out in alarm. "Captain! The alien fleet has changed course. They're heading directly for us. They know we're here." Isabella's heart pounded in her chest. The enemy was closing in. If they didn't get the message out now, all would be lost. But her thoughts kept returning to the sabotage. If the Starbreaker wasn't at full strength, it wouldn't survive the attack. She needed to make a decision. "Can we send the message now?" Isabella asked, turning toward Rachel. Rachel quickly typed in the commands. "We're ready, Captain. The message is encrypted and ready to go, but the systems are unstable. I don't know if it'll go through." Isabella stared at the screen, the seconds ticking away. The alien fleet was getting closer. She could feel the weight of the decision on her shoulders. If the message didn't get through, humanity was doomed. But if the ship wasn't in full working order, they wouldn't make it out alive. "We have no choice," Isabella said, her voice steady but filled with resolve. "Send the message." Now, Rachel hesitated, but with a few quick keystrokes, the message was sent. As the message was transmitted, the Starbreaker shuddered, its systems flickering as the enemy fleet closed in. But something else happened, something that no one had expected. The ship's artificial gravity failed for a split second, causing the crew to stumble. The lights dimmed, and alarms blared throughout the ship. The comms officer's console sparked, sending a shower of sparks into the air. It was happening, the sabotage was escalating. "Captain!" Kyle's voice echoed through the chaos. "We found the source of the problem. It's coming from inside the communications room. We've got someone in there." Isabella's heart skipped a beat. A traitor, inside the communications room. They had no time to waste. "Seal the room now," she ordered, but it was too late. The traitor, whoever they were, had already sabotaged the ship's final defenses. With the Starbreaker vulnerable and the alien fleet closing in, the fate of the entire crew and the message hung in the balance. Could the crew survive the sabotage and the alien attack? Or was this the end of humanity's final hope? The dark expanse of space stretched endlessly before the horizon, the last human warship left in the galaxy. Captain John Calloway stood at the bridge, staring out into the void, where only the faint glow of distant stars provided any light. The enemy fleet was closing in an overwhelming force, far greater than anything humanity had ever faced. This would be their final stand. "We're on the edge of the universe, Captain. The alien fleet is 3 light-years away and advancing quickly. They won't give us any time." Calloway clenched his fists. This was it. There were no more reinforcements, no more hope of rescue. The horizon was all that stood between humanity and extinction. "Prepare the defenses," Calloway ordered, his voice calm despite the fear gnawing at him. "Make sure every weapon system is online. We'll make them feel every second of their attack." The crew scrambled to their stations, ready for a fight that would either secure humanity's survival or wipe them from existence. Calloway's eyes remained locked on the enemy fleet's approach, but in the back of his mind, he couldn't shake the feeling of dread. There was something wrong, something he couldn't explain. "We've sent a final message to the alien empire," Lieutenant Ryan Foster, the ship's communications officer, said, his voice heavy. "But I'm not sure it will do any good. They might be too far gone to listen now." John nodded grimly. The message they sent wasn't one of surrender, but of hope. It asked for an alliance, a chance to fight together against the greater threat that loomed beyond both human and alien forces. But if the aliens didn't accept, humanity would be wiped out in the blink of an eye. "Captain," Mara said, breaking into his thoughts, "we've received a response. The alien fleet is not slowing down. They're preparing for a full assault." Calloway felt his stomach twist. The message was clear. There would be no help from the alien empire. They had chosen their path to destruction. And now there was only one option left: fight until the end. "All hands, brace for impact," Calloway ordered. "This is the last stand of humanity." The horizon shuddered as the first wave of alien missiles struck the shields. The hum of the ship's defensive systems grew louder as the crew worked furiously to maintain their strength. Every shot that hit felt like a punch to the heart of the ship. The horizon was built for battle, but it wasn't invincible. Not against the might of the alien fleet. "Shields at 75%. Mara shouted. "We're taking heavy damage on the port side." Calloway's mind raced. They needed a plan, and they needed it fast. The horizon could take a beating, but it couldn't survive a prolonged assault from a fleet that outnumbered them 10-1. They had one chance to turn the tide. "Deploy the drones," he ordered. "Let's make sure we take down as many of them as we can before we go down." The horizon's drone bay opened, releasing a swarm of small, fast-moving fighter drones into the battle. The crew watched as the drones darted towards the alien ships, taking out shields and striking at weak points. But the alien fleet was relentless, firing back with devastating force. "Captain, we've lost communication with Drone Squadron 3, Ryan reported, his voice tinged with anxiety. They've been destroyed in the outer ring. Calloway felt a pang of frustration. The drones were their best chance, but they couldn't afford to lose any more of them. The alien ships had far superior firepower, and the Horizon's shield was weakening by the minute. They couldn't hold out much longer. All remaining drones, focus on the flagship, Calloway ordered, trying to buy as much time as possible. If we can take that down, maybe we'll get a chance to turn this around. The remaining drones swarmed towards the massive alien flagship, but just as they approached, a pulse of energy from the flagship's weapons systems erupted. The drones were wiped out in seconds. We're running out of time, Mara said, her face pale as she watched the readouts. Shields are at 40%. We can't take another hit like that. Calloway knew she was right. They were on the verge of collapse. But he couldn't give up. Not now. The fate of humanity rested in his hands, and he wasn't about to let it slip away. Prepare to launch the last wave, Calloway said, his voice steady despite the chaos. We've got one shot at this. The crew moved quickly, their actions precise. There was no time for hesitation, no time for doubt. They had one chance to destroy the alien flagship, and if they succeeded, maybe just maybe they could turn the tide of the battle. As the last wave of fighters launched, a loud explosion rocked the ship. The Horizon lurched violently, throwing crew members off balance. Sparks flew from the overhead conduits, and the lights flickered. The hull groaned under the pressure. Shields at 20%. Mara shouted. We can't take another hit like that, Captain. Calloway gritted his teeth. They were nearly at their breaking point. The alien flagship loomed in the distance, its dark shape massive against the backdrop of stars. The last wave of fighters was closing in on it, and the entire crew held their breath, watching as the fighters lined up for the final strike. The tension was unbearable. Would they make it? Would the flagship fall? Then, as if answering the crew's prayers, the fighters locked onto the flagship's weak points and launched their payload. Explosions rocked the alien ship, and for a moment it seemed like the flagship might just go down. But the alien ship retaliated, firing a massive pulse of energy that slammed into the Horizon. We're done for, Mara whispered, her voice filled with dread. It's over. The ship's lights flickered one last time, and then, just as the crew braced for the inevitable, a sudden, deafening explosion rocked the battlefield. It wasn't from the Horizon. It was the alien flagship destroyed. The remaining alien ships hesitated. The destruction of their flagship had crippled their morale. And before they could recover, a new fleet appeared from hyperspace, a human fleet led by the last survivors of the war. We've made it, Calloway breathed, relief flooding through him. The message. It worked. The Horizon might have been destroyed, but humanity had survived. The alien fleet was in retreat, and the alliance had been forged. But the battle was far from over. There would be more challenges ahead. But for now, humanity had won its last stand. The Eclipse, a human warship, sailed silently through the endless dark of space, its engines barely humming. Captain Daniel Hayes stood at a bridge, staring at the cold blackness outside the windows. The crew was ready for their mission to deliver critical intelligence to the Alliance, yet Hayes could feel something darker at play aboard the ship. The enemy, the Vascari, had been relentless in their attempts to undermine humanity's efforts, but this time it wasn't the external threat that worried him. It was what was happening inside the Eclipse. Captain, we're approaching the coordinates, Lieutenant Carla Rice reported. Her voice was steady, but there was a trace of unease in her eyes. The Vascari fleet is still a few hours away, but we've received no updates from command. It's strange, we should have heard something by now. Hayes frowned, the same feeling of discomfort gnawing at him. He trusted his crew, but as the days passed, strange things had begun to happen. Small things at first: missed communications, equipment failures, and crew members acting strangely. There had been whispers of mutiny, though no one had spoken of it aloud. But Hayes had heard them, and the suspicion that something was wrong inside the Eclipse had grown to a point where it could no longer be ignored. Has anyone reported anything unusual? Hayes asked, turning toward his security officer, Sergeant Lucas Banks. Lucas hesitated, clearly uneasy. There's been talk, sir. A few crew members unconfirmed have been seen near restricted areas. No one said anything outright, but it's like they're preparing for something. A chill ran down Hayes' spine. He'd been a captain for years, and in his experience, where there was smoke, there was fire. Get me a full crew manifest. I want to know exactly who is on board. Every single member, no exceptions. Understood, Captain, Lucas said, his voice heavy with concern. As the crew worked to prepare the ship, Hayes tried to shake the feeling that the true danger